Hey, love. Are you looking for a mastermind experience to help you expand your business, deepen your impact, and grow your income in 2020? If so, I have a really special invitation to share with you, which is that the Soulful Leadership Mastermind 2020, which is our third annual mastermind program, is now open for enrollment. If you would like to fill out an application and apply, you can go to emilycastle.com/mastermind. And you can also find all the details about our 2 international retreats. This coming year, we'll be going to Sardinia, Italy, and Costa Rica again. So both blue zones, and I'm so excited to welcome in this cohort of women. We have incredible guest mentor trainings lined up for you. There's also private and group coaching with me every single month. You get bonus access to the Soulful Business Academy so that you can refresh some of your soulful business building skills and your leadership skills and make sure that you are staying up to date in your business. And there is so much more available. So I want to invite you to go check it out if it's something that you've been searching for and you really want to take your business to the next level. You want to scale, you want to grow, you want to create more impact and income in your work. You want to make sure that the work that you're doing is actually the work that your soul is here to do and not just something that feels like you should or the right thing to do. With air quotes, you can't see me, but that's what I would be doing if you could. So if you're feeling intrigued by that, I would love to invite you to come on over to emilycastle.com/mastermind and fill out an application so you and I can hop on the phone and talk about it and make sure that it's the right fit for you. I'm so excited about this experience and cannot wait to lead a new group of women in the new year on this incredible journey. Welcome to Sexy Soulful Success, the podcast for women leaders who are ready to transition from exhausted hustle to enlivened flow in their businesses and beyond. I'm your host, Emily Castle, leadership and business coach for ambitious, high-achieving women entrepreneurs. We will be hearing real behind-the-scenes stories, inspiring words of wisdom, and actionable strategies from women who are creating their empires with sexy confidence, soulful alignment, and an abundant mindset for success. You'll also hear shorter solo episodes from me to help you launch, grow, and scale your business by working smarter, not harder. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to listen in as I coach real women leaders from our community about challenges and burning questions in their businesses. My mission is to help you walk away feeling more confident in your own journey, free to embrace and express your innate feminine wisdom in all you do, ready to deliver your unique contribution to the world, and inspired to take the necessary action to grow your impact and income through your business. Let's dive into today's episode. Today's guest is Rebecca Kordecki. Rebecca has enjoyed a robust 24-year career as a Beverly Hills Celebrity Trainer, group exercise teacher, diet coach, corporate wellness advocate, and speaker. She is the creator of the Booty Slide program and the owner of RK Fit. And after a very successful career, she is transitioning into coaching and speaking on mindfulness, holistic health and wellness, and breathwork practices. I'm so excited to have you here today, love. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. So, you know, my first question is always, what does sexy, soulful success mean to you?
Yeah, such a beautiful question. I love that. For me, oh man, it's been a long journey of stepping into my sexy, stepping into my connection with soulful in how it relates to sexy. Like, can you be sexy and soulful at the same time? Because for a long time, I think sexy to me meant one thing. Like, you're sexy, you're purposely using your physique, using, your energetic sexiness to pull people in, to magnetize people, and lacking soul in doing so, because there's always a bad connotation to, like, well, if you're sexy, if you're striving for that, it's sort of, quote unquote bimbo-y. And so then I always would, like, put a kibosh on it, if I would try to use my sexy and then make myself feel bad or wrong. And now it's so wonderful to, like, really be able to step into what I feel is like being sexy, soulful, and having a little bit of badassery with it. And like owning that you can be in your soul, in your spirit, and that's sexy. That is sexy. And then coupling that with, pursuing your dreams, your passion, your career, your success, whatever that looks like in your, on your path, but being able to own all of that along the way towards your successful endeavors, in whatever shape that takes. And so for me, yeah, I would say just being able to step into all of it with reckless abandon, right? I guess.
That's so beautiful. Yes. And I love the point that you made about what sexy tends to mean. And that's exactly why I included that. And sometimes I'm like, should I just call it soulful success? And then I'm like, no, that's a really important part, because we're breaking down all the preconceived notions of how we've defined that term in the past and what that may have meant, and redefining it into something that's really sacred and beautiful and empowering to be in your sensuality as a woman today. I think is so it's something that we like hide from, or then there's this weird relationship that we have with that. And so
and I think it's sexy when a woman steps into all of who she is. It's sexy, like her spirit, her mind, her drive for her business, for her career, for the passion for what she's doing, and then owns that. And I'm real sexy doing it too. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I love it. Yeah. Great question.
Yeah. Awesome. So give me a little snapshot of just what has brought you here in your career and in your path in life. You've had a really beautifully long 24-year career, as I mentioned when I was introducing you, and you're based in West Hollywood now. And so give us a little snapshot, because for me, that sounds super like, ooh, celebrity trainer and all these cool things. It sounds very glam. So give us the breakdown of what it looks like.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, because I was doing a speaking engagement recently up in Oregon, and the topic was really heavy. And as I opened up, they run a video that I have of myself, and it's my demo video for all of my years of work, my body of work. And so, there were all these like glam shots of me working with celebrities, or talking about working with celebrities, and working in my studio in the Hamptons back in the day. And when the infomercial for Booty Slide was running, there's shots of that. And the names of all the celebrities I've ever worked with pops up on the screen. And I came up on stage, and I had been watching it from below stage. And so I came up on stage, and I was like, I have to shudder at watching that glam video, because I've evolved, I've transformed into look, that's my background, and it's amazing, but that doesn't really define who I am anymore. It's amazing that I've had and look, I'm still doing all of that. I still work with clients. I still am in the fitness arena. But for me, what I think is the most and more important part of who I am and what I do now is that helping people find their inner beauty, their inner gifts, their inner truths, their inner badass, and doing that literally through internal work, rather than from the way I used to approach it, was from an external vantage point of getting their bodies to look great, and getting them to put the right food in their bodies, and all of that matters. And because in tandem, they work together, right? I really can't have one without the other. If I'm fit, but I feel, I'm a spiritual mess, that's not great. If I'm a spiritual guru and I got my ohms on, but I can't walk a flight of stairs, that also isn't great. So finding the balance of that. And so for me, it's been a journey on my own of coming to terms with who I am, coming to terms with all the internal work I needed to do over the last 24 years that I was doing all along the way of, having the career that I've had. I was always doing personal development work, self-growth work, excavation work is what I now call it. I was excavating all of the things that have, kept me scared, kept me smaller, kept me hiding some of my gifts, some of my talents. And so now I've been going about I'm an excavator basically, and excavating all the crap that has been heavy in my life. And so I've done it for years and years and years, and I've created all these interesting tools that I use to help other people do that now, and that I use with myself through working with many different coaches and spiritual guides, etc. And so where I'm at now is just this kind of really amazing place where I get to, every day I get to work with people on doing that work for themselves, right? And I get to be a guide or a facilitator for people doing that. And so while my background may sound glamorous, and it was, look, I'm not gonna lie, it was great working with some of the celebs that I've worked with, and it's been fun and exciting. And to have an infomercial that ran on TV and sold into the stores as a product, not every trainer can say that they've had a developed product that someone's plunked down a ton of money into for running infomercials. And then I had an end cap in Walmart and Kmart with it, so it was very cool, quote unquote. But that's, it's odd because now, like where I'm at now today, I could almost say that the work I've done in just the last 2.5 years is almost fills me up so much more than the work, over 22 years, of my career. So I guess that's a little snapshot kind of where I'm at.
Yes. Thank you for sharing all of that, because it's such an amazing story. Because when you explain all of that, or when someone's watching this like video of all of your accomplishments and achievements, which are amazing and to be celebrated, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Also for you, there's this thing that, when someone's looking at that, they see something and they think, oh, well, you're living the dream. That must be the peak moment, right? Like that must be everything you could have ever imagined would happen for you in this line of work or in the profession that you're in, as a trainer at the time, which it totally would be,
yes. And people not taking anything, not taking anything away from it. It absolutely is and was, and I'm grateful, and I feel accomplished in that regard, right? But there's still a whole lot to do in this new direction I'm going. And so I'm excited, which is great, because like I feel like that's kind of, I'm still doing it, but I feel like it's almost coming to a close, and I'm entering into my second act, if you will, or climbing this mountain of where my next evolution will be. And it's exciting. So I have all of this regard for what I've done, but excitement and enthusiasm and passion for where I'm now going.
I love that. I can feel that from you. And it's just like such a juicy time to have this conversation. So I'm glad. So what do you feel really motivated that shift for you from this like act 1 to act 2, we might say?
Yeah.
I feel like what's that about for you? Like what's underneath that? Can you give us a little behind the scenes?
I always felt like, from minute 1 when I discovered that my first act would be fitness and inspiring people and motivating people to find their best version of themselves. And at that point it was through mainly physical, their physical realm. And so for me, when I first even discovered that was part of my journey, I always knew that my purpose on this planet was something bigger and greater than just taking up space. I used to have this plaque on my license plate that said, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. And so for some reason, I always felt there was more to me, more for me. When I look back on my childhood and it was a bit tumultuous and dysfunctional, and it was tough, and I went through what I went through, and I always knew that there's a reason why I made it out. The drug addiction, I made it out of that and didn't end up 6 feet under, which is where I was headed. And so when I look back on it, I always knew when I got into the fitness field industry, I knew there was a bigger purpose for me, that I didn't go through all that for nothing. And so as I started working with people and I started like doing my own work in tandem with that, like personally, like, uncovering some of the pain that I had gone through, my abandonment issues, and all of it. And as I did that work, I kept like saving little nuggets of it, saving little pieces of it, like putting it away in like this little storage chest of like, these are the things that I know one day I'm going to share with someone else. And so as I was learning, I was like, just knew that save this lesson, save this work, save this exercise, save this tool. And so I was stockpiling all of these things. I really didn't know for what, but I just felt like there's going to be bigger work you're going to be doing. And so as I, was doing all of that work and realizing that at some point I would step into this next level. I never knew when, I never knew how, I never knew what was going to be the catalyst. But then about 3 years ago, I was going through a really, really bad, tough breakup that none of my usual suspects for tools were working, like the things that I would normally work, like going to meditation, working out extra hard, taking hikes into the wilderness, journaling, getting quiet. None of those things were working this time. And I was in this very toxic ending of a relationship, and it was paralyzing me a little bit. And so someone suggested that I try breathwork at a studio that I was attending, like meditation classes, which weren't working, unfortunately. So I tried the breathwork class, and it literally, I'll keep using the phrase over and over, it's just, but the only way to describe it is cracked me open. It literally allowed everything to just come to fruition, like everything come to full, I don't even know how to describe it. For lack of a better word, crack me open is the only way to say. And so all of the pain that I'd been feeling from a lot of other things that I guess I'd only touched the surface of came out. And I found the answers for how to get through that relationship, and stay with integrity and stay afloat and stay in my essence while I went through that breakup. And I owe it to the breath work and feeling like finally I had a tool that no matter what, at any time, any place, I could get back to good. And I say that phrase like it gets me back to good in an instant, in one session. So when I discovered that, for me, it was like, not only is this my new thing for getting back to good instantly without waiting 3 days to come out of the depression or the discomfort or the anger or the fear or the whatever. Now in literally a 25, 35, 45-minute session, I can bounce back. And so when I discovered that, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the thing. This is the thing that I'm supposed to do, to take to my people, to take to my clients, to take to the planet, and in this new way of sharing it. And so it was really like a light went on. And so from then is when I went and got, certified. I took through several different teachers and trainers of training courses of how to teach it. And so then I started teaching, and it was instant for me that I felt so in my zone with it. It was as if I'd been teaching it for forever. And so instantly I started getting a pretty good following and pretty good reputation in the industry. And it's just been, continuing on, and I'm grateful and I feel blessed every day. And
that's so juicy and so good. I've had some experiences with breath work before, and it actually, so last year in September, I was in Bali on a retreat with my mentor, and we were there for a mastermind retreat.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was amazing. We stayed at Michael Franti's retreat center, Soulshine in Bali.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm writing it down.
It was so great. Yeah, you have to go. Or you should go lead something.
Yeah, that's the hello. That's
I'll come join you.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that.
So we were doing breath work, and it had been an intense week to begin with, and there were so many things shifting for everyone who was there, and it was really powerful. And we did a breath work session, and it was I don't even know, like you were saying, I don't know how to describe it other than it cracked me open. There is something that happens in that space that is so incredible. And for me, what came through was, and I know everyone's experiences are very different, and I love that about it.
For sure.
For me, I got this vision of being back in Philadelphia with my now boyfriend, who I had just met at the time before I left, and just like things unfolding, and that it would be a really beautiful choice. And at the time I was really grappling with it, because I'm like, oh, do I really want to do that? I had so many associations because this is where I grew up, that I was like, oh, but to move home would be like the failure, because everything that I had done from a very young age was like, can't wait to get out of here. See ya. And I've never really come back except for like Christmas and sometimes Thanksgiving. And even in college, I like rarely came home.
Sure.
And so even not necessarily moving back to my childhood home even, but just this area felt like there was so much charge around it and so much resistance. And so it's exactly what I needed to be like, okay, I'm good with this choice and let's do it and let's go all in. And it's been a huge, after that, you know, we're shown what we need to see to do the thing that we need to do and get on the path, but it doesn't mean it's always then sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly. Unicorns and rainbows, I always say. Right. No.
And then it was a really tough, like a really beautifully challenging year for me of growth and expansion and deepening and healing and all the things, but I would have potentially never have made that choice had it not been for a breathwork session. So and not every time, like the first time I did it, I actually like fell asleep. I got into this really deep, like, I was just like, I don't know what it was, if it was partially jet lag induced or what, but the first time I did it, I was like out.
Wow.
I had that experience. And then when I've done it after that, I've done it 2 separate times, I think, after that. And I haven't been able to quite like have that same kind of experience again.
Right.
But but it's something that I know is so powerful for people.
So. Yeah. And look, I feel, and thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful. I love that story. And that's exactly it. Like the thing I always say too about breathwork, it's like a box of chocolates. You don't, from Forrest Gump, like you never know what you're going to get. You never do. Like just like that, like you have that one experience that led you to the path that you're on now. And then subsequent classes have been different or less grand, if you will. But you just never know. And meanwhile, that being said, I always say this: if all you do is get up feeling lighter and freer, great. But the bonus is there's a possibility that you will have this amazing transformational shift, an amazing aha moment, and maybe the biggest moment of your life that leads you down the next path. And I also say this other bit too, like you'll get up feeling lighter and freer, but most importantly, more connected to your heart and spirit. So no matter how you get up, there's no way, if you really do the breath and really commit to it and let it go, let it flow, that you won't get up feeling reconnected to who you are in some way. You may not have the big aha and, seeing the clouds open up and golden light shining down on you, but you will always feel like at least you're connected back to who you are. And that is why I love this practice.
Yes. Do we know what that's about? Like why such amazing things come through, or like,
no, wow.
There's another level to it that's unexplainable, I'm sure.
Yes. And the beauty, the great news is that I was reading this great new article that, who is it that's going to be doing it? John Hopkins is going to start doing some new research on the breath work because and how it takes us to altered states, or like that feeling of like when back in the day when it was used as almost like in place of psychedelics, because Stan Grof, who developed holotropic breath work, used to use LSD to work with he's a psychiatrist, used to use it for his patients to help them crack open, right? And help them have these big experiences. And then when LSD was no longer, you weren't able to use that anymore, he started exploring using the breath. And through the breath, he was able to get his patients to a very similar state. And so it's really not so much, it's not understood so well. Like, why does this happen? Why is the exchange of O2, CO2 and taking a big full breath into your belly? Well, part of it is that's where we store all of our emotions. I believe that because that breath is going there and we're finally tapping into stuffed emotions, that there is, the releasing and unlocking of that and getting quiet enough to do that. The minute that you take a breath into your belly and then into your heart, I don't know if you're doing the 3-part breath, but that's the style I teach. Yeah. And so there's something about that, but also they want to explore it deeper. Like, how does it take us to these altered states of, like, people are reporting being out of their body. People are reporting slaying dragons out in the, up in the consciousness and in their journey with breath work. And so there's all these crazy things that do happen that people report. And so, hopefully out of these studies at, John Hopkins, it's the Center for Psychedelic and Consciousness research. So it's going to
Wow.
be amazing to see some of that work. But, I just try not to get too heady about it. And I just
Yeah.
try to go, you know what? We're all energy. We're all vibration. We're all frequency. So if there's something in the breath that has a vibration attached to it that helps us unlock and open up, I'm not going to get heady about it. I'm going to stay, grateful and blessed and honored and excited and soulful and sexy about this practice because it's changing lives in front of my eyes. I've worked now with 10,000. I had to do the numbers because I was putting together a new website and we were using a counter on the website. So I was like calculating how many people I've touched over the last like 2.5 years. And it's like 10,500 students in all the classes I've taught. So that to me is a big enough number to say, and I only say that number because if it stopped working, like if after 1,000 it stopped, it was like a one-off or something, but it's not. It's continuous every single class. I had a couple of classes recently. I was starting to like at the end go, where I'll do a circle chat in a couple of places where I teach because I can go a little longer with my class. And so we'll talk a little bit. We'll sit in a circle and just chat. But what came up, and I'll ask every time, don't be shy, be vulnerable. How many of you have tears in your ears right now? And almost literally every time, if there's 30 people, 29 out of 30 people's hands go up. If there's 40, 20, 35 out of 40. If there's 12, 11, hands go up. And so it's time after time. I always say it's the thing that really never fails you. It is consistent, this work. And so I just try not to get too much caught up in the science of it. Yes, there's some science. Yes, there's an exchange of O2, CO2, and you're depleting the CO2 on the exhale, and all this stuff is happening in the body. So physiologically, the things are you're tingling, you're vibrating, you get tetany in your hands. But I don't need to get too heady. All I need to know is it works. Like, do we want to get heady about why meditation works? Why when you finally take in a deep breath, you feel better.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like when you let out that sigh of relief on an exhale sometimes, that everything is back to good. I don't really need to know why it works. It works. And I'm just going to go with that.
That's amazing. I love that you have the experience of sharing that practice with so many people to see in front of you that like, oh, this is so consistent. And this tends to be a common experience that people have, that it brings up emotion, that there's a lot of things shifting energetically, or that people start to see things, or there's so many different expressions. And I love also what you shared about if the result is that you get up feeling lighter, then you did it right, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's exactly right. I always say this too at the end of my classes. I say, if you're laying there right now, because we do a song that's, technically called the end song, rest song. And they're not breathing, they're just doing normal, gentle nose breathing. And I just say, if you have tears in your ears right now, you did it right. If you don't have tears in your ears, you also did it right. So it's no judgment. It's like, if nothing came up, it's perfect. If everything came up, it's perfect. There's no, like, let's not start the practice and go, I have to have this big experience or I failed. No, all you have to do is be, and exactly what's meant to come up for you for this session will come up. And so I just kind of lead with that. I speak to that all the time because I never want anyone to walk out feeling disappointed because the person next to them was crying and screaming and kicking and moaning and, in bliss at the end. And the person next to them was like, wow, that didn't happen to me. It must have. No, but guess what? We were also off of our boxes, what I call our phones, our boxes for 45 minutes. We were also getting stimulated by social media for 45 minutes. We also just laid there in community with other like-minded souls who cared about taking care of themselves, for 45 minutes. We shared space listening to great, awesome music, which I think my playlists are pretty great. And, and we got to do this great practice. Which goes back thousands and thousands of years. It's been healing people and touching people on the planet, for thousands of years in different ways. So I always say that it's a win no matter what. It's a bonus if you crack open.
Yeah. And do you find that if, out of maybe 10 experiences that someone has, it's more likely that they will have a crack open experience the more often they show up, just like yoga is a practice and everything in life is such a practice.
Yeah, I always say about that, because I get that question all the time. Like, people go, I didn't feel much, but I keep coming because I keep hoping. I'm like, let me address that one first. So yes, people will say like, why am I not feeling anything yet? And then I just say, just keep showing up. It is a process. You're peeling layers upon layers upon layers. And sometimes it takes many, 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 many classes to get to the depth. And then they keep showing up. And then invariably the 6th session or whatever they come out and they're like, oh my God, I had that experience that everyone else has been having, that my friends said I could have. And they'll have it. But then also some people will come and they have these big experiences time after time, and they cry and they crack and, 6, 7 times. And then finally the 8th, 9th session, they're like not crying anymore. And they'll come out and they'll go, wow. One guy said to me the other night, he's like, wow, does the effect of breath work finally just plateau? Like, do you just not, he's like, do you just hit a point where you need more and more of it to keep feeling it as like a drug, like where you kind of, I'm like, no. What's happening is that because you're peeling back everything, finally get to a place where there's no more stuff that you need to keep peeling. And now it's a place of peace, or a place of aha, until the next thing comes up.
Right.
And embrace that like you will eventually get to a place where you're in gratitude the entire class, and there's no tears maybe, or if they're tears of joy. They're not tears of, holy hell, what's happened to my life, and all the pain and all the trauma and all the, so embrace that. Like, and I said that to him and he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And he walked away with a smile on his face, whereas he came out, he was a little confused and concerned. And I just said, why can't we just trust that eventually you've done a lot of the work and there's not that much more to excavate until new stuff happens, right? And then new stuff happens and you got to go lay down and breathe again, and get it to crack, and get it to shift and get it to, get back to good. And so, it's a process. And then the process is complete. And then you wait for the next process to need to happen.
I love that. It's great. It's like a great feedback and evidence creator. Okay, really I'm doing the work. There's less coming up. Yay.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
becoming more free of whatever has been binding me from my liberation. And
it's true.
It feels so good. Oh,
yeah.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thank you.
I love breath work. Actually, that's not a true statement, really. I love what it can do, but I find it so hard. I find it so challenging. And
it is. It's
because I don't have a place that in my area that I know of, or that I found that I can go consistently and like be in the practice of it. Right. And I find it hard to do on my own with like a recording or something.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people.
Love it. Yeah.
A lot of people are challenged by trying to set it up to do at home. I always tell people, please try to do your own, maintenance practice at home in between classes. And I even give like a breath track that people can breathe to. And it's a short one, like a mini one, just to set people up for it. And then, I tell them create a playlist. I give them all these tips, but invariably most people won't do it. I don't know whether it's laziness. I don't know whether it's like it feels too, you want a coach there, you want to hear a teacher, on you about staying on the breath pattern or saying the quips that they say. And, but I find that that's true for most of the students that I work with. They say, I try to do it at home and it just doesn't work, or I can't do it.
Yeah.
And why do you think there's no breath work there in Philly? I mean, there may be, but
there probably is. I just haven't really found. Well, and I've been living in like a bit outside of the city, so I'm not as plugged into everything that I would imagine it, if it's happening, it's in the city versus in the suburbs. Although it may be, I don't know. I haven't really sought it out too much.
Yeah, I find, a lot of places it's fairly new too.
It is, yeah.
Look, when I say fairly new, it's not new because breathwork's been around for thousands of years, but it's new for us as humans now in today's society to be embracing it as an amazing tool. So I always have to clarify that, because I've had a few people bash me when I've said, breathwork is being called the new yoga, and they're like, you haven't done your history. And I'm like, oh yes, I have. What I'm saying in that statement is, and what Vogue actually said, that Vogue did an article and they said breathwork is the new yoga. And it's, what they mean by that is like, it's finally catching on. When yoga came out and it got mainstream here in the West, it had been around for thousands of years as well. Right. And so we just finally got it. And and jumped on it and said, wow, what an amazing practice. This has depth. This has purpose. This is useful. This is meaningful. And so the same thing with breath work now, because people are needing something to, to help us in the moment with the way that the overwhelm and stress and anxiety and depression and mental illness and all of these things where people are feeling debilitated in their life. So it's now becoming a thing, one of the things that can be used to help you feel good again. And that's all I mean by that. It's certainly not new, but yeah, but we're finally getting it. Yeah, new for us to grab onto it.
Yeah.
In the mainstream, look, a lot of yogis obviously been using it. Anyone who practices yoga has been practicing breath. But yeah, new
but
for people.
I find it interesting because when you say like, oh, have you done breath work? People will be like, oh yeah, pranayama, blah, blah, blah. And that it's something very different. And I don't know that many people have actually, that many, on a national scale, let's say, in the US, have actually experienced a breathwork session in the way that we're talking about it. So I just want to clarify that too.
Correct. Yes.
Type of breathwork. Do you have like a lineage or a way of explaining the type of breathwork? Is it like holotropic breathwork or? Yeah,
let me speak to that. So yes, so what you're speaking about is like, there are a lot of people that, especially in my classes, I'll ask, who's brand new to breathwork, who has never done breathwork? And a lot of people will go, well, I've done breathwork in yoga. Is that the same? And so yes, under the umbrella of breathwork, that is a style of breathing, the type that you do along with your yoga poses in the practice is very similar, obviously. But the type that we're going to do now, and then I'll explain this, is a different style, which has a different purpose and outcome that's desired, right? So the style that I teach, and so people will always be confused because they think they've done it. And then when they hear the way I describe it, like, nope, never done that. So this particular breathing pattern, and the easiest way to not confuse it with like holotropic or rebirthing or soma breath or transformational breath work, because a lot of people have coined names and branded the style that I teach, which is called conscious circular breath. And it's an open mouth, 3-part breath pattern. So the easiest way to refer to it, if someone were to look it up, would be to say, I want to do open mouth, conscious circular breathing. And then you would land upon all of these different branded styles, if you will, with different, like Leonard Orr is the creator of rebirthing. Stan Groff is the founder of holotropic, right? So you would find these different people who've branched off and created a complete style that has, other components to the breath or a way that they do it. And then they pair it with something else, whether it's, rebirthing is about taking you back into your birth trauma, if you had any, while you were coming out of the birth canal. And so it explores what that was like. And it's a rebirthing session for you to re-experience what you went through when you were being born. And so out of that, like, there comes trauma for a lot of us, the way that we came down the canal and the way that we were first landed into our first breath on the planet. Leonard Orr believed that there was a lot of trauma that existed and that we carry all of that trauma then onto the rest of our life. And it informs how we, like if we had a real struggle coming out of the birth canal, everything in life has to be a struggle because that is what we're used to. That is what feels comfortable to us. And so we seek struggle, or we accept that life is hard. Life is just a bunch of struggling because in our cells, in our DNA, our as we came out of the womb or in the birth canal, we were struggling to get out, to get our first breath. And so that's a style. But so like they've added into the breath work, other components to it, right? But in its simplest distilled down explanation, it's a 3-part conscious circular breath pattern, one breath after another, 2 inhales, 1 exhale, and all done through the open mouth.
So if you've been following me on social media, then you probably know that I recently relaunched my website, rebranded my business, and I am super happy about the work that my dear friend Becca was able to do on my website. Her company is called Bold and Boho, and she is all about bringing affordable brand design to soulful female entrepreneurs who are on the rise. She has these incredible templates for your website that are totally customizable, super easy to use, drag and drop. And these templates are for use on the website platform Showit, which I recently moved everything over to from Squarespace. She also has a podcast template and a blog template that you can add to any of these designs that are super beautiful and super optimized for your unique type of business. She has templates including one called Wildly Wealthy, Wild and Free, Ambitious Dreamer, World Changer, Rich Bitch, and Freedom Seeker. So there is a design and a template for you no matter what type of business you run and no matter what type of brand and web design and layout you prefer. So I highly recommend going and checking her stuff out. She is awesome. She's actually going to be on the podcast in a future episode, so you can hang tight and wait and make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast and listen in weekly to hear her episode when it goes live, and you can learn more about her. But her work speaks for itself. It is incredibly beautiful, incredibly intuitive, and just incredible. I am so happy with the work that she did with me on my website, and I'm super excited for you to go check it out if you haven't already. I'm linking everything up for you in the show notes, as well as for her site, which is boldxboho.com. You can find that in the show notes. And I also have a special discount code that you can use to save $50 off any template that you purchase from her online store. And that code is Emily50, spelled EMILY 50. Thank you for clarifying that, because I think there are so many things, like I've heard like angelic breath work and holotropic breath work and rebirthing, and there's so many different like categories and things that are now out there. And it almost feels it's an interesting time because I wonder, like, in the next 5 years or 3 years or 2 years, if there will be some kind of like standard thing, you know?
There might be. There is a like a foundation or an association of breath workers, but you don't have to belong to it, and no one is licensed to teach breath. There's no board governing us, but there are standard practices that are suggested and ways of teaching it that are suggested, but again, there's no governing board that you have to comply with, etc. But that being said, there may down the line be where you have to have X amount of hours of studies to be able to teach it and practice. Who knows? But in just like anything, right? Like how many styles of yoga are there now, right? How many styles of meditation are there where people will take it and brand it and call it something to make it, to separate it from the mass of it. And so I think in anything, how many styles of, workouts are there now, when originally it was just get to the gym, move your body, lift some weights and change, right? And now it's like P90X, Zumba, HIIT training, all
bar classes. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So, and then if you break it down into bar, there's like all kinds of bar variations, right? So there's iterations of everything. And I think that's the way for a person to, own a piece of something and brand it for themselves and have themselves stand out a little bit from the crowd.
Oh, I love this. I hope that this conversation inspires everyone who's listening to go either come to one of your sessions if they're local to Los Angeles, or find something in their own area and explore and see what it's like. Because I think this is a really transformational practice and something that I would love to be more devoted to in my own life, but because I know the power of it, but also I'm like, I know it's going to be hard for me. Like, I don't want it to be hard. And I'm trying to work on mindset that.
I'm going to just coach you on one thing right there. So like, even those words you're saying, right? Like I've heard you say that now 3 times, like it's going to be hard. Like you just put that out into the universe. And I'll just phrase this with, I really believe, like, we create what we want to see. We speak what we want to feel. So you keep telling the universe it's going to be hard. You better believe it's going to be hard, right?
I know.
How about,
I need to work on it.
Right now, how about if you rephrase that? I'm excited to embrace however this journey with breathwork unfolds for me every single time I lay down on the mat.
Yes.
I'm excited to see how I can work with the challenges as they come up and see where it can take me. Like, if you just reframe that statement, you're going to want to approach, you'll go into approaching it in a completely different way.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
That.
I mean,
I'm
sorry, I had to grab you on that.
No, it's good. It's good. I like that.
Not that you don't know
that. The problem
already,
is, no, but what you just like shine a spotlight on for me was that I do that when I'm in the situation already. So like when I'm like, okay, I know that this is happening and it's part of something that I'm already doing, so I know I'm going to be doing it. Then I'm like, okay, now get your mindset around it. Now reframe it. Now be open.
Okay, good.
But the problem is right now that I'm telling myself that story and it's preventing me from actually seeking it out and getting there.
Yes.
So I do that, but it's like almost after the fact that it's already like, okay, well, you're committed to this and it's happening, but I'm not committing to it and it's not happening. So,
so it would just be a sweeter journey if you could start from the beginning, right? Setting it up even as you enter into the process with a really more empowering phrase. That's all, right?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. But of course, you know, like, that's not anything new. I told you, like, rewire and reframe your thoughts, right? Like, you know that, but like, I just caught you. But there's just, it's one little bad habit we get into. So there's a sneaky bad habit, right? And now I'm just trying to help you break that one.
Yes. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Awesome. So, where can people go to find out more about either the classes that you're teaching around breathwork or just anything else that you're up to?
Yeah, let me share one last little bit. Like, as we were talking about, like, where can you find the breathwork where you are, and what about in Philly? Where are they? You know, I started. I have a company. It's called the Breath Zone, right? And so I am doing breathwork teacher trainings. So let's say you're listening and you're like, I really want to do this breathwork thing. But there's no classes here. Well, why not be the first teacher in your area? Bring breathwork to Philadelphia. Bring breathwork to your community by getting certified to teach it, and come to my teacher trainings. So I'm leading these teacher trainings all over Los Angeles. I've got one in San Diego, one in LA coming up in November. I'm going to Vancouver at the end of October. I'll be in Canada doing a teacher training, and then I'll have them all through 2020. So if you think this thing speaks to you and you don't know breathwork is in your area, like, why not be one of the first people to bring it to your area and be part of the global shift? So that's something that I'm up to right now. That's probably the biggest thing I'm about right now is getting these teacher trainings out and about all over the US and then in Canada as well. So if people want more info about that, they can go to, this is a weird URL, so listen on this one. So it's thebreath.zone. So you know, so it's not .com at the end. It's thebreath.zone, and there's no E on the word breath. A lot of people will still spell it breathe. But so the breath.zone.
Crazy. I'm like, people.
Yeah. And then you can find me. Yeah, and you can find me on Instagram at Rebecca Kordecki. I'm always posting about my trainings, posting about my classes. I do Zoom sessions with people for breathwork, so that's an option. Yeah, so they can find me a couple different ways.
Great. Awesome.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today and for diving so deep into this conversation around breathwork. I hope that this really opens up a new tool and a new skill set for a lot of people to be able to transform whatever is feeling heavy. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome. And look, I'll leave with this little bit. Like, even if it's just a simple, deep 4-second inhale, 4-second exhale, deep breath can shift everything in a moment. It doesn't have to be this intense kind of, I'm going to go crack open with this 3-part breath. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, just start taking some deeper breaths, you know, and calming anxiety, calming stress that we all go through every day, and start there.
I love that. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Lovely talking to you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Hi, love. Thanks so much for listening to the Sexy Soulful Success podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to this episode so that you won't miss any upcoming interviews or helpful advice from our incredible sisterhood and community of women entrepreneurs and leaders from across the globe. I have a few free gifts to share with you over on my website, emilycastle.com. On the homepage, you'll find 3 different tools for free support to help you grow and lead your soulful business with more intention, ease, and flow. And while you're on my site, you can also check out my 3 signature programs for aspiring and established women entrepreneurs. The Soulful Business Academy is my 12-month group coaching experience for aspiring and new entrepreneurs to build a strong foundation for your soul-aligned business and fearlessly launch your calling. This experience is open for you to join at any time, so you can head on over to my website to get started as soon as today and get plugged into incredible resources, support, and a community of like-hearted women. Thanks again for listening, and I can't wait to hear your feedback and suggestions in the reviews. If you have a topic you'd like me to discuss, or a question you'd like me to answer in an upcoming episode, or a guest you'd love for me to interview, you can pop those suggestions in with your rating and review. I hope to see you next week for another episode of Sexy Soulful Success.